Jordan Peterson is one smart man with a lot of experience. So, if anyone knows what to do to live a better life, it's him. His quotes can be life-changing, so why not take a look at some of them? Let's start with the most obvious one. Stop procrastinating.
Unbelievably useful. Google Calendar. It's like, make a damn schedule and stick to it. Okay, so what's the rule with the schedule? It's not a bloody prison.
I know we all have the same bad habit of putting things off until the next day. Whether it's an exam that you have to study for or something for your office, we all do it. But Jordan thinks that changing just this one habit could change your life. He said, "Can you imagine yourself in 10 years if, instead of avoiding the things that you know you should do, you actually did them every single day?" That's powerful. And if you really think about it, it's so true. Imagine if you didn't procrastinate and just did things on time. Not only would it save you so much time, but also so much anxiety and last-minute panic. On that note, don't go around telling people to stop procrastinating. You might want to fix yourself first. We all know that one person who has just the most messed up life, but still, this person points out the flaws in everyone else. It seems like they're a little too concerned with what's going on in the world, while being completely oblivious to what's happening in their own home. The psychologist addressed this and said, "Set your house in perfect order before you criticize the world." I think he didn't mean a literal home. Sure, that's included, but what he really meant was your personality.
There are multiple talents and there are multiple temperaments, and that's where the Big Five model comes in. So people differ in extroversion, and extroverts are more likely to be good at sales jobs. People differ in negative emotionality, despite what the California Labor Board ruled.
Changes start from within. Only then can you start changing the world for the better. But how do you stand that journey in the first place? Here's the secret to becoming stronger. Okay, so this one is one of my personal favorites. 1, it's so true, and 2, I'm sure a lot of you guys would be able to relate to it on a personal level. Jordan said, "The way that you make people resilient is by voluntarily exposing them to things that they are afraid of, and that makes them uncomfortable." This reminds me of the time when Barbie said that you never know what you can do unless you try. Unless you face your fears, you never know how to deal with them. But do you know what's even more important than facing your fears? Stop comparing yourself to others. One of the worst things that you could do to yourself is compare yourself to others. I know it's hard, especially now in this day and age, when you open Instagram and see everyone with perfect bodies, perfect hair, and perfect lives. But comparing yourself to others is not only pointless, it does more harm than good. That's why the Canadian psychologist said, "Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who somebody else is today." The only way to positively track your self-progress in a healthy way is to compare yourself to who you were in the past. And while you're at it, make sure you don't forget the most important lesson. Hard work is the key to success. We all know this, but it's much easier said than done. We tend to get so lost in direction and get mixed up in so many things that hard work just gets much more exhausting than it should be. Jordan Peterson said, "Work as hard as you possibly can on at least one thing and see what happens."
Hard work actually works, and with virtually everything. It might not make you the best at whatever it is you're pursuing, but it will certainly make you better than you are.
He makes it easier. Focus on one thing at a time. Work on it as hard as you can and see the amazing things that you can do. Of course, while you're working hard, don't lose sight of the most important thing that's there: your growth. Jordan said, "You might be winning something, but that doesn't mean you're growing. And growing might be the most important form of winning." I personally think that the best way to grow is to challenge yourself. You could keep winning at easy things, but you'll only learn when you challenge yourself. And we don't mean just the good stuff. Jordan Peterson wants you to be evil. Another time the psychologist made us go, "Whoa," was when he said that he thinks that a person can't have any insight into their capacity for good, not until they've had some well-developed insight into their capacity for evil. In other words, you don't know how good you could be unless you've seen just how bad you can be. You need a perimeter that you set for yourself. To put it another way, you never know how hot summers can get until you've experienced cold winters. But do you know what's more important than an insight into good and evil? Gratitude. We tend to forget just how many things we should be thankful for. Jordan put this into perspective by saying that it took untold generations to get us where we are today. A little gratitude might be in order. And if you really think about it, it's very true. We should be thankful for where we are as humans today for so much.
Start to happen with this, at least, is that we can put our culture back on its firm foundation, because it's something that's desperately needed. And
in order to do that, we have to understand both the evil and the nobility of the human soul. And that's a fundamental truth, you know. And I don't think you can get to the noble, or at least I'm not falling behind. And those will usually be, it's like having to eat a toad in the morning, right? It's like, it's not going to be something you want to do. There'll be things you're trying to avoid. They're snakes, essentially. But if you ask yourself, like you're asking someone, which I think is a form of prayer, if you ask yourself, instead of telling yourself, you know, what is it that I could do to set...
And on that note, the next time you're grateful for something, make sure you say it out loud. Because you know why? Silence is a lie. Speaking your mind is always a good idea. It keeps you bold and free of any doubts. Jordan said that if you don't say what we think, then you'll kill your unborn self. When we have something to say, we should always say it, because silence is a lie. Everyone has the right to voice their opinions. So, next time, no matter how stupid you think your opinion is, say it. And while that's great, I do think we have a bigger question to answer. What's the direction of your life? A lot of us have trouble giving our life direction. Jordan Peterson talked about it and said that we must determine where we are going in our lives, because we can't get there unless we move in that direction. He also said, random wandering will not move you forward. It will instead disappoint and frustrate you, and make you anxious and unhappy and hard to get along with. And then resentful, and then vengeful, and then worse. But how do you figure out that direction? How do you find the purpose of your life? According to the Canadian psychologist, the purpose of life is to find the largest burden that you can bear and bear it. Again, this means that you must challenge yourself in life to get ahead. Grow stronger and stronger with each obstacle that you set for yourself, and ultimately, watch yourself tackle the things that you thought you never could. Seems like you get to choose your own hell. Or do we? Here are Jordan's thoughts about free will. Jordan said, "You're going to pay a price for every bloody thing you do and everything you don't do. You don't get to choose not to pay a price. You get to choose which poison you're going to take. And if you really give it a deep thought, you'll realize just how true it is. And while those are all important lessons, here's the most important one. Treat yourself better." Jordan reminded us of self-care when he said that we have to treat ourselves like we matter. Because if we don't, then we don't take care of ourselves, and we become vengeful and cruel, and we take it out on the people around us, and we become a negative force. None of that is good. You suffer more, and so does everyone else around you. And I agree. When you're insecure about yourself and hate yourself, you have more tendencies to project these insecurities and all this hate onto the people who are around you. Not to mention that at the center of all of it, you're the one who's hurting. And those were 13 quotes by the Canadian psychologist that can change your life and make you a better person. See you all in the next video.